What's going on, Minties? This is Omar from Near Mint Condition, and today I'm going to showcase the Ben Reilly Spider-Man Omnibus that just dropped and compare it to what it previously was collected in. So please stay tuned. Now this book came as a surprise to me because I didn't think the Clone Saga sold that well. So let's compare the spines here. There's the spines and how they line up to each other. This one actually says Volume 1, not just a number. And this takes place immediately right after this omnibus right here, or the first 5 trade paperbacks. There's the back, and I love how they do these backs. I've showcased my Spider-Man omnis before in my oversized hardcovers, but I'm a big fan of these. You can probably tell, maybe, just a little bit. It's not as thick, it's just a little bit thinner. And I don't know why, because it contains a whole lot more. Well, not a whole lot more, but lots more. Let's look at the inside here, what it looks like without the cover. That is that Dan Jurgens and Klaus Janson, ink by Klaus Janson, from Sensational Spider-Man #0. And look at the contents of the book real quick. So this was previously collected in these trade paperbacks right here, which I never thought would sell. The contents of this book, however, are probably the first 3 trades here and a little bit of 4. So we're halfway done. That's why I said Volume 2 has to be coming. Okay, let's look at the inside. By the way, it lays flat really well. Ever since that Miles Morales issue we had, the eye is nice for a big book like this. Oh, let's look at this together. Like I mentioned, this takes place immediately right after the second omnibus of the Clone Saga. This is when Ben Reilly becomes his own man. And Peter Parker turned out to be the clone all this time. So that was a big shocker for everybody. What was supposed to be a 4-issue little mini-series or crossover event blew up into this huge 3-year debacle. And as I mentioned before, Spider-Man comics lost a lot of sales because of this. People wanted to see Peter Parker. They did not want to see this Scarlet Spider. Which, yes, by the way, he is still donning the hoodie at first, but then he will get his own costume. So, let's talk about what it collects. It collects Web of Scarlet Spider 1 through 4, Amazing Scarlet Spider 1 through 2, Scarlet Spider Adjectiveless 1 through 2, Spectacular Scarlet Spider 1 through 2, Scarlet Spider Unlimited 1, Green Goblin #3, which is the crossover event. I actually like that book. Sensational Spider-Man 0 through 3, that's the new series by Dan Jurgens, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get there. It's got the little Wizard mini-comic, and then we go back to Amazing Spider-Man 407 to 410, and Annual 96. Not number 96, but the year 1996. Then we go to Spider-Man 64 to 67, New Warrior 67, which is the crossover event. Also enjoyed that book. Spectacular Spider-Man 230 to 233, Spider-Man and the Punisher miniseries, The Family Plot 1 and 2, Spider-Man Holiday Special 1995, Spider-Man The Final Adventure 1 through 4, Spider-Man Unlimited #11, Spider-Man Team Up #2 and 3, and material from Venom Along Came a Spider 1 through 4. I'm not sure why they did not collect the whole thing, probably because it's in that Venom omnibus. So really quick, what I will say is by this point I was bored with this story. It had gone on way too long, and then the writers decided to throw in this virtual reality thing, crossover event like the Cyber War, which lasted way too long. I could have done a whole issue of that, but it was a total of 9 issues where Ben Reilly's friend is stuck in the internet, which I found kind of funny. It's the 90s, people were not that familiar with the internet, and Lawnmower Man had just dropped. So yeah, let's make the internet into a villain. There's the new Doc Ock, or the female Doc Ock for a while. Now, this is the Sensational Spider-Man mini-comic. So Dan Jurgens was really excited to write Spider-Man. I remember reading an interview with him. He just came off of Superman, and he was like, all right, Marvel's letting me write Spider-Man. He had no idea that Peter Parker was no longer in the book, and now it was the stories of Ben Reilly. So this is where he first dons his costume. So we are that much in, about 200 pages in, and he finally dons his original costume, not the hoodie anymore, which I really like the hoodie, more than this. So Dan Jurgens didn't really make it that far. I think he wrote like the first 4 or 5 issues, and then he bounced, which kind of sucked because I kind of wanted to see where he was going to go with Peter Parker. This book is mainly written by, we got Howard Mackey, Todd DeZago, and like I said, Dan Jurgens. And then we've got a lot of fabulous artists that work on this. Not the best example, but we got Mark Bagley, who drew one of my favorite covers. Patrick Searcher, who did this New Warriors event. Scott McDaniel, who did the Green Goblin. Sal Buscema. John Romita Jr. And who else? There's a couple of other artists in here that kind of blew up. Joe Bennett. Now, he went on to do Image books, and then, of course, he went to do the Justice League books. Of course, his art style has changed a lot because this was kind of a mix between Jim Lee and Joe Madureira, and just not that good at all. And let's look at me, that is ridiculous. Then we have this Venom book, Along Came a Spider. And if you have the Reilly Omnibus, that's already collected in there. And going back to Amazing Spider-Man, yeah, Mark Bagley. Love this guy's artwork. So you have new faces too, new villains that he has to fight, and then old villains that don't believe it's the real Spider-Man. And this is the holiday special. Actually, this was a really cute story. I really like this. It's Willie, Postman Willie from the Fantastic Four, going to visit Aunt May's grave. Because Aunt May had passed away in issue 400 of Amazing Spider-Man. Don't worry, she comes back. Just like everybody. Except for Uncle Ben, which is good. I really enjoyed this. This was written by Fabian Nicieza and drawn by Derek Robertson, who were the team at the time, well, right before this, were working on New Warriors. This is the story of Peter Parker, because now that Ben Reilly is Spider-Man, Peter Parker and Mary Jane took off to live a wonderful life with their new baby, soon to be born, in Portland, Oregon. However, there's a new villain going around killing people, so Peter Parker breaks his promise and dons the costume of Spider-Man. And he promises this is it. This is the last time. But is it really? So I really like this. I thought this was really cool. I wish they had waited to do it later on. But then, after reading so many stories of Ben Reilly, I was ready for a break. And this was the nice little breath of fresh air that I needed. And then we'll look a little bit more here. And let's see. This is the Dave Hoover story from the Unlimited book with Black Cat. Then we've got the team-ups with Silver Surfer, and the second one, or the third one, is with the Fantastic Four. Then we've got spoilers, but really, the Return of Kane, who had been dead. He got killed by the Spider-Side character. I feel ridiculous even saying that name in the omnibus before this one. So he comes back in a really cruddy way. No shock or anything, because the title is literally The Return of Kane, and I'm not even sure if anybody cared about Kane back then. This right here is one of my favorite covers of Spider-Man of all time. I love this cover. Probably the use of the computer-generated colors, which was blowing up at Marvel at the time. They took it right out of the pages from Image, where they were using everything computer-generated, so I don't know. I remember as I wasn't a kid, I was a teenager, but I love that cover, and I bought this issue just because of that cover. And of course, Mark Bagley's nice design of the Spider Carnage outfit. It's pretty cool. Then we got John Romita Jr., who took his own design and changed it up a little bit. But actually, I enjoyed this story. I thought it was pretty good. But I'm also a big fan of Cletus Cassidy. So let's look a little bit more here, because we're almost done with Omnibus 1. And so yes, no solicitation for Volume 2 yet. Everybody's hoping that it will come out in the next catalog, so hopefully sometime this year they'll release it, because I don't want to get stuck with this and the issues, or volumes 4 through 6 of the trades. That's just ridiculous and too much OCD for me to do. Actually, this is John Romita Sr. on art right here in this little backup story. And this is the, what is this called? It's like the hidden story or something like that. The Untold Tale of Spider-Man. That's what it is. That was close enough. Hidden story. So, do I recommend this to anybody? Spider-Man completionist? Yes. Omnibus completionist? Absolutely. How do I compare this? This is one of those stories that I'm really shocked that made it this far. The Clone Saga is notorious for being one of the worst Spider-Man stories. Here's the extras in the back as I talk a little bit about that, which there isn't very many, just the covers really. and second printings and trade paperbacks of recoloring, and that's it. No, I definitely do not recommend it for any new reader. It is complicated as hell to try to figure out what the hell's going on in here, and boring. And I do not recommend this for anybody trying out Spider-Man for the first time. Maybe if you had been used to reading all the other Spider-Man stories, but I recommend reading the Clone Saga first. Otherwise, you're going to be lost with this massive amount of new characters that are introduced in here, and this convoluted storyline that's supposed to be pretty simple. But who I recommend it to? Absolutely Spider-Man collectors, people that are completists. Even people that love Spider-Man should probably pass on this book. I can't imagine this book not going into liquidation sales, really. But I was wrong about the Clone Saga Volume 1 and 2. Those books actually fucking sold, so I could be wrong about this. This book could sell and could go out of print. You never know with these books. So I'm hoping for a Volume 2 as a completist with Spider-Man in oversized hardcover and omnibus format. So there's that. To me, there's other better stories they could have done. So I'm glad we're getting that JMS omnibus here in the next few months. So there's some hope there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Badass Punisher with a ponytail. It was written by Tom Lyle, actually. Now, that was everything collected in this omnibus. Like I said, we expect the second omnibus coming up sometime this year. One hasn't been solicited yet, but odds are that we're probably going to get it. If this is your first time watching and you enjoyed what you saw, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. And leave a comment down below if you ended up getting it, or if you skipped it, or if I talked you into buying it, or actually not buying it. And check out our channel for more content just like this. Please don't forget to tune into Old Reader, New Reader, which comes out every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I go back and reread something and my two new readers read it for the first time. Our next book is Deadly Class, issues 1 through 21, or the first 5 trades. And remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint.